So welcome back to room 1-on-1 with the Homeboys, and after a week off, the domestic football is back, and we are back at Celtic Park with SPFL Premiership New Boys Dundee visiting the city. So I am delighted to welcome for his second appearance, but his first since your last return to the Premiership in August 2020, Dundee superfan Jake Shaw to the show. Well, Jake, how are you, pal?
I'm very well, thank you. After a year off, because I couldn't be bothered, that's what we'll call it.
Oh, right, okay, right, good man. For those that can't remember, Jake and his pal come on. He brought his pal on for emotional support, but he's now telling me he's a podcast expert now, so I've got high hopes for him tonight. Right, as it's our first time speaking this season, Jake, I'm just going to follow the usual tradition and have a wee look back at last season and the successful championship season of 2022-23. So the season kicked off with League Cup groups. New man Gary Bowyer was in charge after the previous relegation under James McPake and Mark McGee. Now, they were mad, weird times as I remember it. But fresh from a quite underwhelming season myself for City, Bowyers was a man. Right, without kind of going mad into the history of McPake leaving was a sore one for Dundee fans, as I recall, because of what he'd done, and it wasn't that bad. And then Mark McGee basically just was madness. Right? So
yeah.
That basically it.
You've summed it up. I don't need to say anything else. McPake went. We just got into the quarter-final of the Cup, and we beat Hearts away, and they decided, that's a good enough reason to get rid of McPake. We had a poor run, and I would sit here and say now, if we kept him and didn't get rid of him and bring in McGee, we'd have stayed up. We'd have stayed up, no bother, because we weren't even bottom when he went. I think we were 11th, chasing 10th, and I could be wrong, but we were nowhere near as bad as we ended up being towards the end.
No, like you say, I mean, if you're sacking McPake because you're saying maybe he's inexperienced for the battle and stuff like that, I kind of get it, but to bring Mark McGee, who madness. I mean, would that have been a Gordon Strachan thing at that time? Would it have been?
Aye, it was jobs for the boys, I think.
Still the same. We'll come to that.
Aye, absolutely. But, there was a weird thing about McGee. He was banned for 6 games for touching or something. So he come in and couldn't do anything. He's like, I'll be fine. I can be in the stand. And then after the 6 games, he's like, oh, actually no, I probably should have been on the touchline. Really? I mean, no words.
Anyway, that was the season of 4. We're not talking about that shit.
Aye.
Right. So the League Cup groups. Placed with Hamilton Accy, Stranraer, Queen's Park, Forth Athletic. Dundee smashed through the group, 4 wins before. This set up a second round tie with Falkirk and another home great 3-0 win. And the reward for that was an away trip to Rangers. And whilst COVID stuck doing your own boys, it took a 10th minute Stephen Davis goal to knock you out. And despite the win, as I remember, there was a serenade of boos at Ibrox after that performance.
There was. On the radio after it, they were saying, now's the time to sack, what's his name, Van Bronckhorst. But we were good that day. No one was giving us the credit we deserved. We were good. We just had nothing up front.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
And that was ultimately a downfall in the end. But I mean, we went toe to toe with them, and it was promising for what was to come.
It was interesting because it kind of coincides with the league that, however well, like you're saying, you're kind of going, we done well that day, if we got something for it, but at that point, the league kind of started wobbling. It wasn't that great. So I suppose, and if you wait up at the end of the season, you're kind of going, fuck it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. We got there in the end.
Right. Like I say, so last season was all about the league. It wasn't all plain sailing. An opening day defeat to Thistle set the tone for an inconsistent start. So from the opening 13 games, these records stood at 5 wins, 4 draws, 4 defeats, as his team sat in 6th place. Despite the World Cup being on, the Championship battered on, and 5 wins in the bounce gave much more cause for hope. And at the turn of the year, the team sat top by a point. However, this was a bit of a false dawn as the team hit another bumpy patch in the early stages of 2023. 2 wins, 3 draws, 3 defeats for the next 8 games had fans, as I remember, questioning the manager. The 3-1 rearranged home defeat to Thistle again left Dundee 4 points off Queen's Park on top and only 3 ahead of Ayr, Morton and Thistle themselves, and where again played on all of them. But the squad came good. From the remaining 10 games, they remained unbeaten. 5 wins, 5 draws, and a final day 5-3 win over Queen's Park, securing the title win for Bowyer and his team. So at the end up, after 36 games played, the record was 17 wins, 12 draws, 7 losses, 66 goals scored, 40 conceded, goal difference plus 26, 63 points on board, 5 points ahead of Ayr United and Queen's Park in second and third, and a further point ahead of Partick Morton in an exceedingly tight title race. And the Scottish Cup, 6-2 extra time win over Airdrie in November was followed by a 3-0 penalty defeat at St Mirren Park in January after a 0-0 draw. And the Scottish Challenge Cup was so close, yet so far. Wins over the New Saints, another 3-0 win over Falkirk, 4-2 home defeat of Dunfermline, set up a home semi-final tie with Wraith Rovers. Dundee squandered a 2-goal lead, exited the competition at the penultimate stage with a 4-3 penalty defeat. So all in all, how did you feel with that? What were the aims? See with the cups not the cup should never embarrass yourself by any stretch, did you?
No, not really. We went to St Mirren and again went more than Toby. Again, we should have won. We should have beat them. But we went to penalties, and evidently, as it has since proved, again, we're shite at penalties. We can't do them. We're absolutely shite at penalties. But we've signed their goalie, who saved, all the penalties. So I'll take that. But the cups, you're right. I didn't care. Really, we didn't embarrass ourselves, but the aim was to get out the league by hook or by crook. Absolutely just see through it. I think is probably the way to go. And I don't care. I wouldn't change it now. How it ended, because that last day was magical. But had you offered me at the start of the season, to win it at a canter, then I'd have taken you, bitten your hand off.
Of course.
Hindsight's wonderful.
But we're football fans, aren't we? And we're into these big days. I mean, you might suffer to get there, but I mean, I watched that game. It was on the telly, and all that. As you say, what a way to win it. I mean, what an absolute. Because we were wanting you guys back up, and that's no me sitting. We said before this, we're going to blow smoke up at each other's asses. 100%. No. I mean, I love going to Dundee. Dundee's my favourite trip. Really is. And fucking going to Queen's Park and the shitty wee 1,800 fucking people stadium wasn't the appealing, do you know what I mean? So I delighted.
It was great. The story surrounding it, incredible. Obviously, they limited the amount of tickets we could have, and then we'd fought to get more. And we had folk. Stephen, who was on with me last time, was on a night out in Dundee, and he went straight from his night out to queue up to get tickets during the night, and he never managed to get the first batch. They wrote his name down, and he got one for me, him, and his dad in the second batch. So I didn't know until about 2 days before that I was actually going to be going.
Class.
To the game. I'd have been through in Stenhousemuir regardless, standing outside or up on the ladder with the old guys.
What a buzz, brilliant, man.
It was class.
But like I say, that's football, that's class. That's what we're in the game for. Shit like that, man. Exactly. The cup game. It's interesting because I spoke to Craig, the Kilmarnock fan, and we were talking about how they'd won the league last season. And he says it was garbage, do you know what I mean? But ultimately, we go out. And I've been doing a couple of wee things for myself in terms of the money coming into Scottish football. And as much as we shit in our league, right, and it is kind of frustrating, being in the Premier League's a must for a team like Dundee, innit? And it really is. I mean,
the way gates you get for Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, and Aberdeen, that could tide you through the season itself.
Yeah.
Anything else is a bonus.
Okay, so we'll look at this season, right? And we'll get a good wee chat about the next bit. So 2023, new season upon us. And quite surprising for us blinkered SPFL Prem fans, Gary Bowyer departed the club. Now, it seems a fallout behind the scenes meant that the title-winning manager departed the club in May and was replaced by Tony Docherty, who at that point was best known for being Derek McInnes's right-hand man and a guy who'd never previously managed a club. So I am presuming that you know a lot more than me. To give you kind of where we stand for it, because we were all talking about it in the office, I was like, what do you mean he's leaving? We thought that he was leaving for Blackpool. But then I read his quotes and he was like, I'm gutted. Do you know what I mean? I'm really gutted to be, because I watched that Salford City documentary and I've got to admit, I liked him. I liked the cut of his jib. He seemed like a decent guy. Do you know what I mean? So it was really interesting. So what was the background? What happened?
Well, led to believe it was a fallout, to be honest. And it's the thing that kind of cemented it for me was the interview with John Nelms on the telly after the Queen's Park game.
Right.
I think the interviewer was like, "Oh, is Gary Bowyer going to get a chance?" And he said, "We'll see what happens for next season." And then the Player of the Year dinner happened, and Gary Bowyer was under the illusion that he was going to be the man to take Dundee into the league, and he was going to be backed to sign his own players and put his own stamp on the team, because he still had a lot of McPake's team there who were out of contract. And he said, "I'm going to make my own stamp. We're going to have a go at the league." And then all of a sudden, he's sacked. And
so he was actually punted.
Aye.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was a case of now one of the ones, right? You're a dick. Yeah, you're a dick. Right, we'll just call it. You know what I mean? Also, he actually punted. I think so. Was his son a David Stratton?
I'm not entirely sure if it was. I think it was more with John Nelms. I could be wrong. I hope people aren't going to pick me up on that if I am, but I could be wrong. I think it was a rift between him and Nelms. Yeah. And I don't think he got on with Strachan either. There's again, after the game, he's pointing up and it looks like he's gone, we've done this together. But actually, I think he was shouting expletives at Nelms and Strachan and co. I don't know.
Class, isn't it, man?
It's so good. It's so good. That's what they call. It's what the kids call the cinch. Peak cinch. Aye. I think he was punted. Aye.
So how did you feel about that?
I was gutted at the time. Absolutely gutted. And I'll come on to it, I think, in a bit. But at the time, I thought, well, he's got a team of players that have got us up, so he's clearly got something about him. And some of the guys he signed were really good, and some of the guys that he inherited improved. But I thought, right, once he gets a stamp on the team, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, and as I say, I'll come on to that.
Aye, it was giving you enough confidence that that should he sign more guys, because we had that under Ange, you know what I mean? Because we hadn't heard any of these fucking Japanese guys, you know what I mean? But once 2 or 3 of them, boom, 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 you're like, aye, you crack on, big man. You know what you're doing.
Aye, with some of them though, I would say his recruitment was again, hindsight looking back, his recruitment was actually at a big sticking point for him, because he signed a boy, Joe Grayson, on loan from Barrow, and he replaced Sean Byrne, who I was total bigging up the last time we were on here. Who's since gone out on loan to Wraith, but anyway, and he was half the player Sean Byrne was, but because he was Bowyers' player, played every week. And there's actually a cracking video, I'll send you it later, of we're playing Wraith Rovers in the league, and Joe Grayson unfortunately gets an injury and has to be subbed off, but the boy coming on is Sean Byrne, who was told he could leave because he was surplus to requirements. And the roar for him coming on, like the fans were clearly like, look, this is who we want on the pitch. Oh, it was great. But him, Derek will say, a couple other boys, Ryan Clampin never played a minute really.
Right. So isn't it great? Right, okay, I'll do that.
No, so like some of the boys were good. Some of the boys that he brought in were good. Luke Cannon had a strong end to the season. In my opinion, again, a lot of people are going to say he wasn't that good because his stats weren't great, but I liked what he brought to the team. And there are 1 or 2 others that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But I'd say it was a mixed bag. And I have contradicted myself. It was whatever.
Right, so you've given me an absolutely fantastic segue there. By the way, you're fucking good segues. So A wee bit of shuffling about with the D this summer, right? So we'll look at the outs first. So Paul McMullen ended his love affair with the City of Discovery and left for Derry City. Defender Ryan Sweeney departed for Burton Albion. Legend Paul McGowan and 22-year-old defender Luke Stratton both joined Cove Rangers. 22-year-old defender Sam Fisher joined Dunfermline in the Championship after a loan with them last season. Irish goalkeeper Ian Law left for Doncaster. 25-year-old US midfielder Pierre Reddy joined Charleston Battery, whilst Killian Sheridan was released into the wild. And as of yet, fuck knows what happened to him. And left back John Marshall and striker Alex Jakubiak, who recently signed for Dunfermline, also departed the club, and all left at the end of their contract on free transfers. Now, the club sent out Harrison Sharp, Jack Wilkie, Thomas Welsh, Evan Murray, Ewan Mutale, Marley, Sweeney Rowe, Max Anderson, and Luke Graham all out on loan. So, fair amount to replace. So, what we've got coming in, 31-year-old Irish centre-back Joe Shaughnessy was picked up for St Mirren. Scott Tiffany, the 25-year-old winger, was grabbed for Partick Thistle. 21-year-old midfielder Charlie Riley joined for the Albion Rovers. Now it gets fucking sexy. Juan Antonio Portales, a Mexican centre-back, was signed from Mexican second-tier side Atlante. His fellow Mexican, the 27-year-old Diego Pineda, was picked up from another second-tier side, Corey Camines, UAT. Northern Ireland international goalkeeper Trevor Carson returned to Dundee, only in blue this time, signing from St Mirren. French midfielder Mohamed Salah, no, not that one, was signed from Hartlepool, and they were all signed on frees or undisclosed fees. Now, the club also brought in a rake of loans. Zach Robinson, 21-year-old striker who was loaned from AFC Wimbledon, was there last season. John McCracken, a Scotland under-17 cap, was brought up from Norwich, but McCracken, however, had his loan cancelled straight away after the club sold second choice keeper Tim Krul. Welsh 21-year-old left back Owen Beck joined for Liverpool. Crystal Palace centre back Malachy Boateng joined for the season. Aaron Donnelly, a 20-year-old Northern Irish under 21 cap, joined from Nottingham Forest. Amadou Bakayoko, a 27-year-old Sierra Leone forward, came on loan from Forest Green. 30-year-old Ricky Lamy joined from Motherwell. Ryan Howley, a Wales under-21 midfielder, was picked up from Coventry. And finally, 21-year-old attacking midfielder Marcel Lewis signed up for half a season from Burnley. Right, now, ins and outs. Now, I would guess you've seen the majority of all your ins, and you've seen at least a bit of them. So, thoughts on the outgoings and, more importantly, who came in, who's the standouts, who's impressed you, who's going to impress us?
I'm going to take back everything I've said about Gary Bowyer's team, because some of those outs names you read out, I forgot existed. Pierre Reedy is not a football player. What the fuck he was doing signed for Dundee, I don't know. Anyway, to answer your question, Owen Beck is the pick of the bunch by miles, the left back for Liverpool. You can tell he trains with Andy Robertson. He's like a reincarnation. A couple of bits of his game, defensive awareness, decision making, he could scrub up on, but he's 21. He's just turned 21. So, I mean, I'm glad he's at Dundee to pick up this stuff and to learn this stuff, because he's a player. He's a player. And actually, wait, no, let me get it right. The Celtic magazine actually were touting Celtic to sign him after his loan at Dundee.
Is that right?
Yeah. Funnily enough, just the week before we play Celtic, but nothing ominous about that. The Celtic Star.
Maybe you're needing any help we can get to now.
The Celtic Star news feed. You can't see it. But they were saying he could solve Celtic's left back problem.
I need to be charging the Celtic staff for that bit of advertising you gave them there, by the way. But
absolutely, sorry. other Celtic fanzines are available. But Owen Beck is just so good. He's so good.
Interesting.
Only once this season, I think, as a winger really had his number. It was McMenamin at St Mirren. Kind of had him a bit, but he's every other game I've seen him, he's been just tremendous. Going forward, especially. As I say, a reincarnation of Robertson.
Brilliant. Aye. Yeah. Right, so tell me about Zach Robinson.
What a guy. What a guy.
Doesn't tell me much.
No, Zach Robinson is how do I describe it? He's not like rapid. He's not like he's not going to score you 30 goals in a season. But see, when he's back to goal, he's just tremendous, and he's just so skillful. Wee touches here and there, like could pick it out of the sky. Lovely stuff. But last season he was huge for us, getting us promoted. Some of his goals he scored were ridiculous. And this season's been a bit. You can tell it's a step up for him.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, you can tell it's a step up for him. But I think with time again, he'll come to the fore, and he'll be the Zach Robinson we thought we were signing.
Well, he's 21-year-old as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I think he's a brilliant player again, but that's dark blue tinted specs on, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. Trevor Carson's you brought him up talking about what a signing that is.
He's going to win us points this season. He already has. Against Hearts, made a bloody brilliant save from a free kick, and that's just the first of many points that he's going to save us this season. I couldn't tell you the last time we had a goalie I was so confident in. Even Scott Bain had his moments when he was at Dundee. He was a good goalie, don't get me wrong, but sometimes he forgot he had hands. He'd dive and not stretch his arms out in a dickhead. That's enough about Scott Bain. But genuinely, last time we had a goalie that I was this confident in, Rab Douglas.
What about Julian Speroni?
I was a bit young for Julian Speroni.
So Rab Douglas was after Speroni? Fucking, I'm old.
He was there. So he was there before Speroni, I think. And then went to Celtic, and then he came back.
Oh, so he did. You're right. Yes.
And that's the time. I mean, that time. And every other time we've had shiting goals.
And I mean, as somebody, I grew up with absolute garbage in nets for us, like total garbage. And then we had a wee spell, boom, 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 of these great goalies. And see, when you get a Snyder again, it's fucking noticeable, man.
Definitely. Well, you've got a couple of good ones now. I mean, your sub-keeper's the one that was at United.
Siegrist.
I like him.
See, the thing with Siegrist, without wanting to go heavily on Celtic, is that at United, I thought he was a great player, and I thought it was a great signing because I thought he was going to push Joe Hart. But he looks like I don't know anything apart from what I'm looking at. He looks like he's cool. He's sitting in the background. Do you know what I mean? He's no causing any bother, and that's we need somebody who's going to push Joe Hart.
Well, it's him and Scott Bain sitting playing Tiddly. Fair enough.
I'd be it, man, no goalie. Right, okay. Anybody else in that group that you kind of want to bum on about?
Joe Shaughnessy.
Right, okay.
Again, well, that's kind of the theme of it. The players that come in with the experience that we need. Him, Ricky Lamy, he's only played one game, so I'm not too sure about him, but there's a backstory with him that I'll tell you in a minute. But we've now got a bit of league experience, which we didn't have much of last time we were up.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of cost us. Whereas this time we've got that experience there in the spine of the team, so we're looking all right. There with Joe Shaughnessy. And it's experience that's key, I think. What I want to say about Lamy, was it last summer he signed a pre-contract with Dundee.
All right, okay.
Or apparently signed a pre-contract with Dundee, and Motherwell were flying. They ended up in Europe, and we got relegated, and he cancelled it. So a lot of Dundee fans, when the rumours swirled this time round that we're signing him on loan, were like, "Nah, fuck him. I don't want him in." I was not one of those players, Ricky, if you're listening. One of those fans. No, but he a lot of people were totally against him coming in because he went back on a relegated team to go and play in Europe. Of course he did. Obviously he did. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty much it. But something else I want to touch on about the signings is we've re-signed a good core of last season's players, but most notably the young guys that we managed to keep. 2-year deals to Cameron, Mulligan, Harry Sharp, Max Anderson, Finn Robertson.
I saw you gave Max Anderson. Max Anderson was one guy I was wanting to really talk about, because obviously you've put him out on loan now that you're up in it, but he played a fair bit last season, eh?
Yeah, he did. I think he's just fallen a bit too far down the pecking order, and he really needs to be playing games to develop, because otherwise he's just going to stagnate. That's the same reason with Sam Fisher going to Dunfermline. You know, we let him go. He was never getting a game this year, and in order to progress his career, he needs to be elsewhere. And I think that's the same with Anderson for at least a year.
Yeah.
Get him out on loan and he'll come back just better, you know.
Stronger. That's what you want.
Exactly. Whereas the other boys, Robertson's been playing the last couple of games. Cameron, Mulligan are almost nailed on starters most weeks. Although I say that last 2 games have not, but
well, let's talk about that then, right? So looking at the squad, like you said, there has been quite a turnover, kind of getting rid of the deadwood, getting rid of the old guys, right? So aside from the new guys, who are the standouts? Like last season, Paul McMullen and Ryan Sweeney had made most appearances, and they took a fucking shitload of goals with them. But you've still got Lyle Cameron, who was top goal scorer last season with 14 goals. Luke McGowan looks like an absolute important player, and that's just me for watching the highlights. I mean, we'll talk once we talk about the games, we'll talk about him a bit more. But I mean, who are the standout? Who are the best young guys? Who are the guys that could make that step up to whatever the English Championship? Do you know what I mean?
Josh Mulligan could go to the very, very, very top.
Really?
If he can sort out his final ball, like, because his rash finishes, decision making is questionable.
20-year-old as well.
He's only young. He's only young. But if he can sort out his final ball, he's going tippy top, because he's that good. He's that good. Cameron, he's not your typical footballer. A wee guy, you know, really kind of wee guy. He's not, you know, a pushover for being such a wee guy though. And his final ball is completely opposite. He is.
Right.
He reads the game so well. These 2 guys they'll exceed Dundee. They'll play for Scotland. They'll be far better. Aye, definitely.
And you've said to me you've tied them up in new contracts.
Yeah, 2-year deal. They're both out of contract at the end of the season. There was loads of talk of Cameron going to Hearts.
All right.
Loads of it, and then all of a sudden he signed for us. He won Player of the Year, Players Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and something else. It was in the Team of the Year or something. And he signed a 2-year deal.
And where's he from?
Where's he from? Dundee.
Dundee.
Right. The kind of core of young boys are mostly for Dundee. Maybe a couple for Aberdeen sort of way, but the core group of, like, Finlay Robertson's a former Dundee season ticket holder. Lyle Cameron's been, once he got released for United, he's been at Dundee the whole time, and he was with McPake in the under-18s. He was brilliant then. You know, he's been in and around the first team for years, but that last season was his real breakthrough, and he's gonna fly, honestly.
So have your 2 Mexican superstars had a sniff yet?
Pineda, not really. The striker, he scored against Dumbarton in League Cup, and that's about all he's done. I don't think he's touched the ball again since then. And Portales, he was the one we're really kind of excited about, you know, but he got injured after 4 minutes against Hearts.
Right.
A really bad injury, so he's on his way back now, doing rehab and things, but we've not really seen much yet, so there's still to come.
You reckon they signed that Pineda just to kind of give him a pal kind of thing, is it?
I think so. I think you're right. Someone that you can actually speak to in the changing room, because imagine trying to speak Spanish to Cammy Kerr would be hilarious. It'd be a funny conversation to see.
Right, okay, so we'll jump into this season then, right? So again, you've started the game in the League Cup. This time you're drawing with Bonnyrigg Rose, Airdrie, Dumbarton, and Inverness. Tough enough group, just looking at it. 3 wins before. That 1-0 defeat away to Airdrie, the only blot, but a substantial one. 89th minute penalty conceded and scored by the Airdrie manager, Rhys McCabe, meaning the team finished in second place and departed the tournament. Again, cups don't really matter. The legal matter, but you still want your run, didn't you? League-wise, not a bad start at all. Opening Flag Day draw with Motherwell, come back to draw 1 each. A 2-1 away defeat by St Mirren, a fantastic 1-0 win over Hearts, and a 2-2 draw away at St Johnstone, despite being 2 goals ahead. So as we get into this weekend's game, Dundee sitting 6th place, 4 games played, 1 win, 2 draws, 1 defeat, 5 scored, 5 conceded, 5 points on board, same as Livy in 6th, and 1 point behind Rangers and Ross County in 4th and 5th. Now, I never really had a gander at the League Cup because I thought, you know, that's like you're kind of in and out. So we'll talk about the league games. As always, I have to kind of say that anything I've seen is the SPFL highlights, right? So I need you to kind of, do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of just showing you. But the Motherwell game, this is my thoughts. You gave up a lot of possession, but it was still an eachy-peachy game. The weather looked like it fucked you for the opener, but Luke McGowan looked absolutely fucking great. And the highlights looked absolutely great. So how did it go?
Motherwell, pretty much it. I think a draw was fair over the piece. I don't think either team deserved to win it. I think we maybe edged it, but that, again, those dark blue tinted glasses again. You know, I think a draw is fair, but you're right. The weather absolutely fucked it. I think if it was a dry pitch, I think we go on and we win that because we've got players like McCowan who's absolutely firing, you know, on all cylinders at the moment. I think that, as you say, the weather fucked it for the first one. If that's a normal pitch,
the boys
it
came
doesn't
out,
catch that.
the boys came out, and for anyone who's not seen it, the ball comes on and the big boy's just going to launch it and it fucking just stops on the ground and rolls right under his foot. Aye,
exactly. It's
killer.
a total pain. It's a total pain. There's a great video for that game. The guys, the Bryans, who are the groundsmen, father and son, they're clearing the water off the pitch in the corner whilst the ball's in play. And there's a sign behind them that says something like drain experts or something like that. Like, it's just incredible. But the weather fucked it. And a draw is fair over the piece, I think.
St Mirren game, that early on goal kind of hurts you. But I mean, you've had a penalty saved, but St Mirren really kind of had you pinned in at times after the bar and stuff like that. And I see, it's going to be a kind of running theme for the games. I was looking at St Johnstone maybe aside, is that you look to play football on the deck constantly, and the big physical attacks seem to hurt you. Do you know what I mean? That's what I noticed anyway. St Mirren game, I don't think you've got a moan there. Eh?
Not really. Again, the worst penalty you've ever seen taken in that game. So we've done ourselves out of a point, I think, because as I said earlier, we're shite at penalties, and definitely at St Mirren Park there's some kind of hoodoo. You know, we can't do anything with penalties there. But I think you can't really grumble at getting beat. St Mirren are really good this year. I think they're a dark horse for third this season.
Right, okay.
But they look good, and I think we done ourselves out of a point though by,
of course,
failing to score a penalty. You know, what more can I really say about that one? We were not deservedly beaten, because I hate saying that. I hate saying we're deservedly beaten, but we were beaten and we missed a penalty.
I know what you mean. Aye. You had your opportunity, kind of snatched on, and you fucked it. I know how it works. The Hearts game, once again, gave up a lot of possession, but from the highlights, the keepers had a great day. Defences worked hard, but going forward, just looked mega dangerous, man. I mean, you've had that scrappy goal chopped off. He was struggling with the big ball in, but that goal from McGowan for the press is absolutely brilliant.
Stunning.
It's a great goal, absolutely
great. We did it in pre-season against Fleetwood Town from further out. Exactly the same idea. Kind of slack pass, and he looks up and dinks the keeper. So, you know, although I was probably screaming for him to pass the tip.
Oh, of course, aye, take the easy way.
Aye, I thought nah, fair enough when you see him go for that, because you know he's got previous.
Mm-hmm.
He's got previous, but I think the defence were really solid, I thought. You know, I thought anything apart from just after half time when they made the subs, I thought the defence were comfortable. You know, I thought any high balls they were winning, you know, anything like that. But then they brought on Boyce, some centre mid, I can't mind his name. Is it Devlin maybe?
Cammy Devlin, yeah.
And the boy on loan for Rangers, I forget his name.
Lowry,
he's brilliant. He was fantastic. He had Cammy Kerr's number, like he was superb against us. But on the whole, I thought we deserved the win. I thought defenders did really, really well in just dealing with all the shit that was flung at them.
Mm-hmm.
And it headed everything away, it blocked everything, and as you say, the keeper had a absolute stormer as well.
Mm-hmm. Boyce is a hard play to play against. Really hard, because he's physically big. He can hold the ball up and bring guys into play, and he's not bad on the deck as well. So I always think Boyce is a majorly underrated player in Scotland. I think he's a great player. Do you know what I mean?
I like him. He takes up positions you didn't expect him to be in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a striker. You expect him to be on the shoulder, but he drops back, and him and Shanklin
he probably score a hell of
and
a lot more goals if he kind of. But as you say, he brings so many guys into play. Do you know what I mean? He must be a wonder to play with. The St Johnstone game, this one kind of obviously with our own game last week, it kind of body swerved me. I missed it. So St Johnstone game gave up a fair bit of possession in that game, but again it looked like an itchy peachy. 2 goals is 2 set pieces, and you really should have had a 3 about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of wide play, but again the balls coming in seem to be a problem.
Aye, that's it. I mean, never seen a team so comfortable in all my life when we were 2-0 up, cruising, and what did it for us was stupid subs that didn't need to be made, and as you say, missed opportunities. But if the subs aren't made, we're bossing the midfield back with Boateng and Robertson are absolutely bossing it, and he brings them off to bring some of the new boys on, give them some minutes into legs. You can see the thinking behind it. But it just doesn't. I think if you're 3-0 up, because you're no chucking a 3-0 lead, but we're Dundee. What you can't get a 2-0. You know, we're always, as soon as you saw it happen, you know what's coming, and then the first goes in, and then it's just a matter of time before the second does. I think that takes me back to what we're saying about Owen Beck and his decision, not his decision making, his defensive awareness. He loses his man at the goal, at one of the goals, and they score, and that's just again inexperience, which he'll learn. I mean, he'll learn for that game, I'm sure. I think he won't make that mistake again. But I missed opportunities. Less said about a couple of them, the better. Zach Rudden, I don't know how he's missed. And then Tiffany's was a good save, but again, you shouldn't be giving the keeper an option.
Shouldn't be giving him a chance, 100%.
Exactly.
It's definitely 2 points dropped that one. Even the way they kind of how equal the stats were and stuff like that. So, if you're watching it, I was like, how they gave that away. So all in all, right, you must be. That one's a frustration. The St Mirren game could have snatched a point, but all in all, you must be delighted with how it started, even with the League Cup and stuff like
that. Aye, chuffed with it. I think League Cup was a big gelling, exercise, guys getting to know each other, and again we missed the penalty against Airdrie in that game that we got beat.
Did you? Right, I missed that.
We missed the penalty in that game as well. Robinson, I think it was.
You are shit penalties,
penalty. It was Cameron, not Robinson, sorry. But we are shit at penalties. We missed them all this season. Missed every single one. But he, I've lost my train of thought.
No, just in summary of the season.
Dead happy with how it's been. I'm aware it should be better. We should be sitting probably above Rangers and Ross County right now. But if you'd offered me this at the start of the season, I'd bitten your hand off.
100%, yeah.
And there's the signs going forward are excellent. We look like we're going to be good this year. I'm confident we'll be looking ahead of us rather than behind us. If you know what I mean, looking at the league table.
That's excellent.
I don't think we'll be too worried about relegation, but watch us come back and bite me in the arse.
You know, we'll touch with
There'll be United fans clipping this.
Right, okay, so this weekend, right, so there's not really any point talking about the previous games between ourselves. They're kind of irrelevant at this stage. So having a wee look at your games this season. So your manager's kind of flitting between 3-5-2 and sometimes 4 at the back. Where do you think he's going to land as the season goes? And what do you think the plan will be this weekend coming to Park?
I think we'll be aiming to frustrate. I think it'll be again a 3-5-2, and I think that's what he's going to stick with. I think the signings that he's made kind of suggest that. You know, with the boy Donnelly from Nottingham Forest is a left-sided centre back, and he got injured at training. He's not played a game yet. He got injured in training, and so we've really been missing that. But then Portales was there to step in. He got injured, so we don't have the personnel to play that formation at the moment. But with Ricky Lamie coming in, I think that's what we'll see on Saturday anyway. Is Lamie, Shaughnessy, and McGee is a back five will be at Celtic Park. There's no chance the wing backs will be getting too far forward. But I think it will be that for the most part, with the wing backs pushing up and causing teams a real problem when we're not playing Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, you know. But I think we've got the players to switch it about as well.
Yeah.
So I think he'll persist with the 3-5-2, but when it's not going right, he's got the arsenal there to change it. And he already has. He's shown this season, got a 4-3-3 a couple of times.
Right, so generally you would say a game at Celtic Park and Ibrox, it's a free hit for you, and it maybe comes under more pressure should the season not have started as you expected it to. But as you guys have started relatively well, and we haven't been great, even though we had that big win last week. Is it something you're looking at kind of going, by the way, you know, you never know. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying yes, because last time I was on here, I said exactly that. I said if there's a time to play Celtic, it's now. He's humped to 6-0, so nah.
Aye, that's right.
I think it'll be you're right when you say it's a free hit, because that's how the fans see it. But I don't think the team will see it that way. I think they'll see, St Johnstone have gone there and take the point. What's to say we can't go and do the same or better? But again, that's me ever the optimist.
No. We're realists here, aren't we? Because things have to not be great for us, and things have to work for you. I mean, that's the truth, and that's
how it's been for
basically.
Years.
Aye. Right, okay, so will I push you for a result then?
No.
Right, okay. Well,
on the fence.
So, with that in mind, right, so let's talk about your thoughts for the season, right? What's the hope for the season? Last time we spoke, we were hoping for a wee cup run, and we were hoping to have a wee couple of pints before the Scottish Cup final. As I remember, never really happened that year. Never happened for either one of these fuck's sake. So what is your hope for the season league-wise, and what do you hope for the team?
Well, I would take 10th now.
Right.
If you offered me it, I'd take it. I'd build on it next season. I just want to be comfortably away from relegation.
Yeah.
But I would take 10th now. A cup run would be nice, but we're out of one of them. So, again, league is most important this year. I'm not as fussed, I think, for a cup run, but it would be nice.
Yeah,
it would be nice. So realistically, I want to stay up. I think we have the team to push for maybe 6th spot, but I'm not going to get too ahead of myself just yet.
No, that's fair. I mean, when Craig was on, he was talking about the famous Scottish top 5, which is, and we're already seeing that the top 5 is fucking no great. Do you know what I mean? So looking up the ways is never a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't fucking control it, so you might as well dream it.
Exactly. I've got no say. I just tweet shite on Twitter. That's all I do.
Right, well, your final absolutely brilliant segue for us, right? So we're going to wrap it up there. But before we bugger off, Jake, where can people follow you in social media?
Yeah, so I've got at Dens Park Choir. That's my my Dundee one. That's where you can hear my ramblings and terrible thoughts about Scottish football. And then my own is at Jake TS _, and that's that plus ridiculing a particular political party.
I would
I'll say
recommend.
no more. I'm not dividing anybody.
Yeah, I would recommend Jake's a good follow. Some good opinions, maybe divisive opinions here and there, but always worth a follow. So I would recommend people buy it. So Jake, thank you very much for taking your time out tonight to sit and chat to us. I've enjoyed it. I found it really interesting. As always, I'm going to go with my cliche. Hope your season keeps going great after Saturday.
Of course.
But once again, mate, thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
Speak
Appreciate
soon,
it.
Paul.
Cheers.